Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to Cannon Fodder, the channel for Arsenal fans all over this world. Welcome to the first and last segment of the day. I was hoping a couple of guests were gonna turn up, and I'm rather belated. Monday evening show. And I didn't even kind of prepare my notes, so we're gonna have to do this one on the fly and to see how things work out. But welcome to the evening segment. I'm hoping that Eltel, the original Godfather, will join me, and also there might be some other bits and pieces of news depending on how things kind of work out on this evening show. So I shall see you on this other side of this music intro. Yes. Welcome back to Cannon Fodder, the channel for Arsenal fans all over this world. You can tell I'm like, I'm almost at 100% in wellness, well-being, wellness. Anyway, listen. Before we get into this one, make sure, guys, that you subscribe to Cannon Fodder TV. Hit the bell notification button so you can receive all the latest news right here on this wonderful channel that is Cannon Fodder TV. You can tell I'm on one. First day back at work, LTL. Mike.
You're looking fine, man.
Cheers, man. Thank you. Yeah, likewise, man. Likewise. How you been keeping, man?
Oh, all right. Rocking and rolling. That's all you can do.
and before we get into this one, not sure what we're going to be talking about. LTL and myself, we live quite close to each other, maybe 10, 15 minutes walking.
Yeah.
So, we're part from the same neighborhood, even though Terry lives in Enfield and I live in Barnet. But he went to the local park, one of many around this area, Arnold's Grove. I said, "Oh, Eltel, we're going to that same park." Got there, and Eltel had already gone back home.
And I can top that one. I got home, and within about 3 minutes, my wife and daughter walked in. I said, "Where you been?" They said, "Over the park, taking my daughters into this Korean pop music." And you know where those arches are, where the tube train
goes?
Clara was dancing there and to a backing track, and I never met them either. I must be spacewalk or something.
This one's going to be interesting. It's going to be a short one, by the way, but it'll be an interesting Monday night show. Of course, the time is going to vary wherever you are in this world of ours. So some business tell yesterday. Man City, and tell you know what? I was getting prepared, and I got the live stream up and running, and I got a cup of my cocoa, and before I even kind of sipped the second sip, Man City scored that goal there. But after that, the 7 8 minutes, I thought Arsenal couldn't get their foot on the ball, and did they teach us a lesson. But your thoughts on the game yesterday, Tel?
After the first goal, I got really worried. I thought this could be a 3 or 4-0 defeat. I mean, what I would say to people is, if you have a look at the first goal, obviously Mahrez gets one-on-one with Tierney. Now, if you look at the Arsenal guy that was playing in the same position as Mahrez, he never once, Pepe never once got one-on-one with a Man City defender. Why? Because, and all the teams have worked Pepe out, they always double up on Pepe, always. So he can beat people one-on-one. Now, the question you've got to ask is, what was happening in our defence and midfield that somebody else didn't back up Tierney? Because he was obviously trying to stop him going outside him and crossing the ball. And there was so much space that Tierney couldn't possibly mark. All he had to do was sidestep and cross the ball. Oh, this is Mahrez now with his weaker foot. Now, why don't we find a way? And it could be to do with Pepe's football intelligence, but we never seem to find a way of getting the ball to him so that he can run one-on-one with a defender. It never happens in any game. And yet when he played at, was it Lille? He was doing that on quite a regular basis. But for some reason, whatever way we're playing him, or maybe it's the team, maybe it's his football intelligence, He just never seems to receive the ball so that he can quickly turn and attack the one defender that might be actually marking him. You know,
Uh,
mad.
uh, So I thought Pepe was very, very unlucky to have been dropped for the Leeds game. I thought he was unlucky not to start against Benfica. And I think he played up until that point the best bit of football I had seen him play, on the left-hand side, much further up the pitch. But I know people say, "Oh, but Alex, you got to realise that Alba scored like a hat trick against Leeds." I'm thinking, but even the continuity, the confidence, because clearly Pepe is a confidence player. He's not done anything wrong to be dropped, and then
Yeah.
you're putting him into that game there against Benfica, hoping that he's going to pull up daisies, and it's not working. And Aubameyang is worrying me again, Eltel.
Well, I am as well. I mean, the thing about it was they swapped Pepe over with Xhaka because they thought they wanted to get Saka into the space. First of all, they wanted to stop the Man City right back, is a Portuguese lad, Concelo, I think his name is. They
Yeah.
wanted to stop him doing this inverted fullback thing that both Arteta and Guardiola use. So they thought we'll put Saka there. But all that then did is put Pepe on the right hand side where he hasn't played well for us. All right, he played for Lille very well as, if you like, an inside forward. But that swapping over was definitely a tactical ploy by Arteta. And it may well have, to be honest, when you look at it, we only let in one goal, which,
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
fallen asleep and on that in the first 2 minutes, an 0-0 draw would have been sort of lauded and said, "Great, well done." Now, in terms of Oba, he has gone off the boil. We had it with other players who I will not mention, who as soon as they got a massive pay rise beyond the king's ransom, then suddenly that little bite in their game, that extra bit of zip, that mental preparation goes. And I think Oba, I know he's got, we don't know. I know his mum was ill, so he's got worries there. Then, and it might be something as simple as that tattoo problem. Apparently, he went off about 3 days before the City game and got himself a tattoo. Now, they did ask Arteta. All these things get leaked, which in a way isn't good. I bet Arteta's fuming, but it got leaked, presumably by the tattoo artist. I've no idea who else. And we've got some other people around Oba that are causing trouble for him. And the question was, did he go to the tattoo artist? Did the tattoo artist come to him? But in either case, it was the wrong thing to do. We're in the middle of a global pandemic, so he obviously got fined. Arteta just said it's dealt with internally. So I presume a fine or a ticking off. So he's had that on his mind. He's had his mum being ill on his mind, and he's got these millions of pounds or dollars on his mind. So it is sad, but it takes the edge. You can't tell me that Tony Adams or Dennis Bergkamp, played for the money. I've just been rereading Ian Wright's autobiography, and he played for the sheer joy of playing the game. And the money was wonderful, and it took him from a broccoli estate in South London to a much better lifestyle. But in the end, it wasn't the money that sort of drove him hard. And I do worry that the game in total has kind of lost its way, and there's so much money washing around. And of course, the latest, I don't know if you've seen this, they think that the football clubs are going to be open again for 10,000 spectators in May or June. That's the latest vibe. Yeah.
Tell on a part of the Easy Talk on Friday. I know you had to chip off quite early because for certain reasons. But one of the questions I was asking Sharifa and James is that in the first half against Benfica, unbeknownst to me, because I only saw the last 5 minutes of the first half, and I saw bits and pieces of the second half. Unbeknownst to me, Alba missed a hatful of chances. And my question to James and Sharifa was, do you think the fan base gives Auba a free pass because he is our talisman? He's our main striker. But if it had been Lacazette, the fan base would have jumped on his back.
Yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, the first one is the one that stuck in my mind the most because it came to his left foot, and he didn't fancy playing left-footed, and then he tried to right-foot it, which is why if you watch it, it went well wide of the post. So he didn't use his left foot. And yes, the fan base do give Auba, like a free pass. Just a quick thing on this left foot thing. You know me, I like two-footed players, or at least I like players that have a decent weaker foot, And apparently, because we can now hear what Arteta's saying, and any manager can be heard, there was one point where Tierney, towards the end of the match, was bombing up on the left-hand side, and the ball fell to Mo, as is known. Arteta shouted, "Mo, push it high," meaning pass the ball to Tierney. But it fell to Mo's left foot, and he didn't want to use his left foot. And by the time he turned it onto his right foot, the chance had gone. So it is interesting that this business of left foot, right foot thing. I know Arteta likes players, if they're left footed, to be on the left side of the pitch, and if they're right footed, on the right side of the pitch. But really, what's made Saka, above all the other things he can do, his pace, his vision, his football brain, his close control, his ability to score, and all those other things he's got a good weak foot. And that's why when we switched him to the right-hand side of the attack, unlike Pepe, who always wants to cut inside, every defender knows that if you give him a chance, he'll go outside you and play it with his weaker foot, and it won't be a swinger. It'll be a very good pass. So yes, Auba does get a free pass. In the first one, he should have tried with his left foot. But I do urge people, if they're watching us against Benfica, if I was Arteta, I'd have been out there playing, and making players play with their weaker foot. Having said that, Malcolm McDonald, who was Supermac back in, I suppose it was the 70s, he never played it with his weaker foot, which was his right foot. And also, Malcolm McDonald, the famous phrase he had was, people said to him, why when you get the ball, why don't you pass it to one of the other Arsenal players? And he said, listen, once I cross that halfway line, if I've got the ball, the only thing I'm thinking of is scoring. Go straight. Oh, that's another thing I noticed. If you watch the match against City, every time City got the ball, they were doing a vertical run, straight at pace, no sideways, no diagonal. It was bang, straight forward at massive pace. And just one final thing. I mean, the sort of tactics I've been reading up about this Guardiola star tactic, which is not tiki-taka, but it's this thing called, if I get the Spanish right, if not, I'm sure you'll help me, juego de posición. Would that
very good. Muy bien. Yeah.
Juego de posición. And he's quite famous for sort of marking the training pitches out in different ways. And I won't go into that now, but it is very detailed and it's fascinating. But what he has said was, because he's a very tactical type manager, he said, if you don't have better players than the opposition, so if the opposition has better players than you, by and large, tactics don't come into it, which is why he's always managed, apart from Barcelona B, he's always managed teams that had virtually limitless supplies of money. So he can cherry pick all the best players. He had that new centre-back playing yesterday or the other day, and he was very good. So I think for tactics, and I'm always interested in tactics, the thing is, if you've got more skillful players, faster players who are adept more than anybody else in the position they play, then he was saying tactics are not that important. Tactics are important when teams are fairly even. And I will say finally on that, I thought that the running off the ball of Man City was absolutely fantastic. This Juego de Position is all about the man on the ball having 2 or 3 options. Every time he's running with the ball, he's got players running off him. He's got options. Now, Arsenal are getting good at this. We're learning to close down passing lanes. So if you watch the Arsenal press, they don't sort of press necessarily up against the player, but they just stop the sort of passing lane. So this is the way modern football's going. It's very tactical. It's very every position on the pitch. The players know where they should be depending on if their team has the ball or the opposition has the ball, and which way the sort of players moving. So it's very tactical. And if you're a manager trying to bring that in, it doesn't happen overnight. You've got to educate players over a period of time.
I understand that philosophy there, Tel. But looking at Arsenal against Man City last night, trying to beat the press with the players that we have, and then when we beat the press, we progress the ball so slow, knowing fully well the whole idea of beating the press is that you can utilize or take advantage of the space behind. But we progressed the ball so slow that it gave time to the Man City players just to get back into position. That's one thing. The other thing I noticed is that it was more of the same. The players passing the ball left to right, back. And the only reason for that, Tel, was the lack of movement in the midfield.
Yeah,
there was no movement. Even Mo, when he was on the ball, I don't blame him so much because he was looking for some movement, some options, and like you said, the movement off the ball with the Man City players, it was a wonder to watch. I enjoyed watching it. I'm thinking, why can't Arsenal play that way? If you're trying to beat the press, you beat the press for Man City players, progress the ball quickly, have some movement, but there was no movement in midfield, and that was so frustrating. So frustrating to watch. And I don't want to heap so much pressure on Martin Ødegaard's shoulders. I don't think he had the best of games. I thought the game was passing him by very, very quickly yesterday. Ideally, I wanted to see Emil Smith-Rowe start and then Ødegaard come on in the second half, but I didn't see that. I didn't see that, so.
I was going to say exactly that. I thought Ødegaard had a poor game, and for some reason, we aren't passing it to him. I was watching him very carefully. He doesn't know the players very well, so I'll understand if he doesn't quite know where he should be and where he should go. But I didn't see players looking for him. Whereas when Emil Smith-Rowe came on, my goodness, a similar player with similar in-between-the-line skills, but the first touch, I must say, in all the years I've watched Arsenal, I think he's one of the top 3 or 4 first touch players that I've seen playing. He touches the ball and it's gone. He already.
But you know what, Tel? You know what? My subscribers last week were telling me the reason for that is that they don't trust Ødegaard. He's got to earn the trust. And the other thing is, what they're telling me is that because his movement is so dynamic, they need to become accustomed to where he's moving to, the direction, and where he wants the ball. So I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute. These are 2 different things. If you're saying to me they're not passing the ball to him, that is one thing. But if they can't pick him up because his movement is so dynamic, that is something completely different. And I cannot accept the first one, Tel, that they're not passing the ball to him. Why? Why would you not want to? He's there to do a job. He's there to do a job, Tel.
It's very like Pepe. We're not passing it to Pepe in a position where he can do something with it. Ødegaard, similar. I will say about Ødegaard, I've not been that impressed by him. I do remember Liam Brady breaking through into the first team about the same age as him. And he had a similar, very sweet left foot and so on. But, and Ødegaard does have a very good weight of ball. When he sees a player running through, the amount of pace he puts on the ball is excellent. But when I compare him to, I know he's a favourite of yours, compare him to Liam Brady. Liam, by the time he got about 22 or 23, he just raised his level. He just got it. He understood where everybody was going. He understood how to ride tackles. He understood how to create space, and he had a good, although he was left-footed, he had a decent right foot. He could cross the ball with either foot. And at the moment, Ødegaard is not impressing me. I'm very much hoping that it's early doors yet, but I wouldn't be spending any money on him what I'm currently seeing.
Yeah.
Neil
Yeah.
Smith-Rowe, I do love. I think he's a wonderful player. I do worry because he's got a big injury list behind him, but he seems to be coping well. Apparently, he's got growing pains, which just gives you an example of how the fact that the guy is still young and still growing. But at the moment, Ødegaard, or actually, I looked up the pronouncing of his name. It's Ødegaard. That's what the second A, which has got a little circle on it. So, I mean, most people are going to call him Ødegaard, but it's actually Ødegaard. But yeah, I'm not that impressed by him yet. I know he's got close control, but I'm yet to see these wonderful through balls. But I had looked at footage of him, and he does weight the pass well. But you know, I know people are getting very frustrated with Arteta, but I can see he's got a plan. I can see it's very, very detailed. You and I know, as in teaching, you have to do a weekly plan and a medium-term plan and an overall plan and so on. I'm sure he's gone into that in great detail, and he knows with Edu, they've sat down, they know exactly the kind of players they need to bring in. So in a way, I feel sorry for him because he's trying to get the team to play a certain way, which is why he originally had that 3-4-3 set up when he first came in, just to secure the defence. And now he's gone back to sort of 4-4-2 or 4-2-3-1, I suppose you call it. But he definitely hasn't got the players yet. And again, you and I know from teaching, it's no good filling the players' heads with too much stuff. You can't just get them to change the habits of many years. So he's having to drip feed his tactical ideas in, and he can't do it all in one go. So I think we're going to see the best with the younger players coming through. But they will absorb a lot more of the stuff. Saka's wonderful. He's unbelievable. And as we say, Emile Smith-Rowe, wonderful player. We've got some great players coming through. But I would urge any Arsenal supporters, please don't get panicked on what you're currently seeing. I think we're heading in the right direction. And actually, Guardiola has kind of backed him in a way. Just before the game, he did say that, you know, when he first went to City, it took him a year to begin to assemble a decent team around him. And I think he was basically supporting his friend and saying he will get it right, but he needs time. And I think everything he's done so far, apart from, well, two things, and you'll probably agree with me, selling that wonderful goalkeeper, Emiliano Martinez, stunning goalkeeper, and then bringing William in. I mean, people might not know this, but we were having a bit of a joke on the on the WhatsApp. Has William come on yet? Have they brought him on yet? Even at midnight, somebody put on yet.
Dear me. Let's go into the live chat and see who's joined us for this one. Got James Miller. Please let this be. He is selling to a progressive thinking buyer who will build a team worthy to wear the shirt. Please, even if you lie, I'll feel better. Well, I mean, know that you would have probably seen the thumbnail artwork. I put Silent Stan. And the reason why I put that, or why I put him as a thumbnail artwork, is that on many occasions, James Rowe has this idea or his opinion that really, rather than attacking or talking about the manager, we've got to look further up the pitch. Stan Kroenke, and until we have a new owner, we're going to see a lot more of what we're seeing now. Where do you stand on that anyway, Tel? Do you think...
I can tell you now, I mean, fans might not know this, it's hot off the press, but apparently Arsenal are in discussions with the big international television companies to charge for fans to go and online and watch the under 23s and maybe the under 18s. And I've been doing that quite a lot when I wanted to see the under 23s play, because I found out all you got to do is, if they're playing Leicester or Brighton, you sign up on the Leicester website and then you get all these matches for free. So I was an Arsenal player away. The trouble is, you keep getting promotion stuff through as emails from Leicester and Brighton. But Arsenal, of course, Kroenke's not short of turning an opportunity into $1. And that's the latest, that we're going to be paying to watch the under 23s. And presumably that won't be a part of the season ticket. You'll pay that on top. So I'm afraid with Kroenke, it's money, money, money. And we've spoken about this new Super League, Super European League, and that's what he wants. And I can promise you now, they are doing a total rethink of how they can package football teams like Arsenal, because there won't be that many. If there are 10, 20,000 in the stadiums by the end of the year, we'll be doing well. And they're obviously going to try and monetize the online subscriptions. So in terms of Kroenke, you can have what's called a Phoenix Club, which Wimbledon did. Wimbledon were bought out by very rich businessmen who then decided there was no football team in a place called Milton Keynes, which is one of the new towns, I suppose in the South Midlands, you'd call that area. And so they said, right, we're going to relocate Wimbledon, who had won the cup under one of our ex-players as manager, Bobby Gould, and we're going to relocate them up to Milton Keynes, which is a massive distance, maybe 100 miles or something, maybe 80, 90 miles away from Wimbledon. So the fans did what's called a Phoenix Club. They started again. They renamed the club AFC Wimbledon, which is not Athletic Football Club. It's a fans club. It also meant alphabetically they got above Arsenal. And they started the whole club again. But the interesting thing is, if you want to start the whole thing again, you've got to be careful that you don't bring in another Kroenke type character who's going to say, "Oh, I'll fund you. I'll give you the money to start," and then you're, after so many seasons, you're back to sort of square one. So, and unfortunately, nothing. I know James Rowe is similarly minded. I'm afraid while Kroenke's there, then it's going to be a long, hard grind. I wouldn't personally have an owner at Arsenal who wasn't interested in going to at least 70% of the matches. I'd like him to follow Arsenal on a rainy night up at Burnley or wherever they happen to be playing. And the fact that you've got a multi-billionaire come in and sees it as a business opportunity is not really helping matters. And we've never really done. No, I mean, listen, I'm not decrying the FA Cups, and I'm one of those supporters who saw Arsenal go through many a long year without any trophies. So I know people are getting worried. I know James is getting worried, and people that started supporting, I suppose, in the 80s and 90s. But I remember the 60s when I was a little kid growing up, and then again after winning the double in 71, we went through a number of lean years there where little Giorgio was our hero, and he saved us from relegation. Things were bad. So we've gone through this before, but we've never gone through the situation of having a disinterested, absent owner. And I know that James is more pessimistic than me, but maybe James is right. James thinks that really we're treading water until we get somebody in that is a real Arsenal fan. And I personally think that if it were to happen, a couple of relegations would probably do it, and Kroenke would probably quite happily. But I don't want to see that. I can only see. Kroenke's got a history of never selling a club, but if he were to, you'd have to offer him a phenomenal amount of money, and the only people who could probably do that would be a syndicate of billionaires, with maybe one or two Arsenal very rich people like Flamini, who's made money in an oil-based sort of derivative, it's a sort of an oil it's a substance that is plant-based that does the same job as oil. So you might get Flamini in there, and you might get the Nigerian guy Dangote in there. But I can see it, if it's ever going to happen, it'll have to be a syndicate, because they will have to offer so much money, unless we end up in the 3rd Division South or something. Panorama League. It could happen.
Monty, my moderator for the evening, says, well, go on, Alex, and the Can 42 family. I hope everyone is well. Thank you for that, Monty. He also says, give a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new here. Jack Williams, it's been a long time, my friend. I hope you're well. I hope college is fine as well. He says, if we lose on Thursday, I genuinely believe Arteta will not last the season. I'm positive Dangote will be coming in this year. That was the year he said that he would at least attempt to bid. And I've always said that I can feel it in my bones. I just feel like now is the time for Arsenal to have a new owner, and if Dangote can come in and challenge, and like you said, offer a bucket load or maybe a house full of money, then hopefully that he'll give up the reins and hand them over to Akilo Dangote. But we can only live in hope. Jack goes on to say, given the losses Arsenal have made financially, would the Cronkies be forced to sell up? They're normally reliant on sales of merchandise, etc. And hasn't that dropped drastically, Tel?
It would. I mean, I used to make a point of not buying stuff in the stadium, because it was so incredibly pricey. People would come past me with all kinds of hot dogs and bits of pizza. So I'd say, how much to spend for that? Oh, I bought this and a couple of cups of coffee, and I couldn't even get it for £10. I had to go beyond that to buy it.
Yeah.
And this is mad. They are ripping the fans off. And when I first started supporting Arsenal, and for many years after, when they had a new kit, they kept it for 2 or 3 years. Now, every season, it's 3 new kits. It's a new home kit and 2 different away kits. And if you've got young kids, I remember getting my son the kit, and he loved it. He went nuts, and he loves it. And people do. They spend big money on these kits, and all the other merchandise and so on. I don't know. It feels to me as if it shouldn't be that way. I know quite a few fans who actually wear just an old kit that they've had for a long time, and as long as they keep it washed and freshed up, they would rather do that than keep buying. I've probably got, you might have more than me, but I've probably got about 3 or 4 kits over the years, maybe 5, and a couple of away kits. But it's still mad. You can't keep up with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jack goes on further to say, also on the game yesterday, that was the first time I was proper fuming with Arteta and the team. No urgency until injury time, and still offered nothing.
Can I just say to sort of Jack there, I really think that that Arteta was so worried about losing to his mate that he almost overthought it. Instead of going in and saying, let's leave Saka on the right. If you're going to play Pepe, leave him on the left. He's proved to be far better that way. I think he was just so scared of losing it. He tried to play quite a defensive setup. And bear in mind that were it not for that crazy goal within the first 75 seconds, we probably would have got a 0-0 draw. So, I can, this is a personal thing. They're mates, but they're also rivals. Can I just say a quick shout out to, I know quite a few people in Ireland now watch this era, and I've got a few friends over there. When I'm over there, I know all the different pubs that show the Arsenal games. There's big fan clubs in Limerick and places like that, and Dublin, of course. And I've got some friends there in Clare. So just say a big hello and a shout out to Tim, who I know loves going and watching all our stuff about tactics, and his 2 lads, Cochel and Tig. So a big hello to them here in North London.
Hey, there you go. Nice one, LTL. The Assemble says, good day, Alex and LTL.
Hi.
And Arteta needs to explain what he has against Martinelli. Gabby is forward thinking, pressing, aggressive, what we needed for the game as we had to win. But I think even above and beyond that, I just couldn't see Arsenal overcoming Man City. I just couldn't see it. But I predicted a 3-1 loss for Arsenal, and as Elto was saying, no, it was only 1-0. But a loss is a loss. A loss is a loss.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Martinelli is concerned, I think he's obviously taking care of him because he's had some bad injuries. But he wants to play him at centre forward. So if it all goes belly up against Benfica, I can see Martinelli coming on, and maybe Oba might be sort of dropped in subsequent matches. I've also heard that Arteta can set his face against players if you don't give 100%. One of the guys that I'm trying to think who it was at Man City was saying that he got some great training off from Arteta, but he said he works you like an animal, and he works himself like an animal, and he's the sort of person, if you don't match that back, then he's not interested. Now you and I know when you work with kids, you have to work them hard. That's your job, but you do it with a smile on your face. But I don't think Arteta is doing any smile on his face. I think, to be fair to him, he did say when he first came down, I'm going to expect 120%. And if you're not interested, it's non-negotiable. Go off somewhere else. So these guys have got a short career. They're earning phenomenal money. Eye-watering sums of money. So the least you can expect is a bit like Dennis Bergkamp, who is my friend Tim's Arsenal hero. Dennis just led a clean life. There was no staying out late. The famous story of him and Ian Wright were travelling away and roommates, and Ian Wright. And apparently, fans might sort of like this. Apparently, Wenger didn't like the players drinking tea or coffee. It's a stimulant. And anyway, they got into the room, some away match somewhere in Europe, and Ian went into the bathroom, and he came out, and Dennis had his pajamas all lined up. And there was a kettle in the room, and they switched it on, and Ian reached into his pocket and pulled out a couple of tea bags. He said, "Dennis, do you fancy a couple of cups of tea?" And Dennis said, "No." The manager say, "No tea, no coffee. You can't do it." So so Arsene had his own way, and he waved his sort of wand, and he did wonderfully well. So yeah, but I think going back to him, I think he's got away with him. I have heard he's tricky. If you defy him, he's not going to take it. To be honest, George Graham was like that as well. There was a famous piece of footage after we won. I think it was one of the doubles, and then the following season, pre-season, the players were standing over by a wall, and he was giving them the talk. We're all back, and we're all now on training. And you could see Andrew Cole, who went off to play for Nottingham Forest and then Man U, and he was smirking and talking under his breath. And the next thing you heard about, he's being sold. So George Graham didn't like that. And I think probably Arteta is similar. So if you don't give him 100%, and if you start doing wisecracks, now you and I are used to that in schools, and kids are full of wisecracks, and we just
Tell
laugh.
me about it.
And that's fine. It's no point in getting the kids' backs up, But I think Arteta might not have that kind of character. If you start giving him jip, he's going to just say, "Nah, you're not playing."
Monty says, "Well, go on, Eltel. I hope you are well. Salute to Eltel and Alessandro. Have I changed my name? What's going on here? God, dearie me." The Assemble says, "Don't you find it odd that as a player hits a form, he's dropped and resurfaces 3 or 4 games later when his momentum has gone?" I imagine probably you're talking about Nicolas Pepe or maybe Lacazette being dropped, best form. I'm thinking, okay, don't drop them, and Arteta drops them. Yeah. What's going on, Tal? What's going on? Ah, dear. But overall, this season, I feel we have been unlucky in most games, not being clinical enough. Okay, well, that's not unlucky. It's just that we haven't been clinical enough. Luck doesn't come into that, Jack. Unluckiness and a lack of killer instinct results in a lack of consistency would be top 4 if we had luck. luck and a little bit more elbow grease as well.
Well, listen,
There was
I'm
some.
a golfer, but I've got a brother-in-law who's a big golfer, and he was quoting somebody. Was it Jack Nicklaus or somebody? And somebody said, "Oh, you're really lucky when you're putting." He said, "No, no, no. The harder I practice, the luckier I get."
I get absolutely, absolutely. Chino Bloods, evening. That's an interesting name handle. Chino Bloods. Does Arteta and the squad, which struggles with chemistry, have a ceiling imposed on it by the structure board and owners? Terrell.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly have a structure in terms of how many players, which is why they've been jettisoning as much dead wood as possible. Whether they, I mean, if when you say chemistry, you're reminding me, maybe not necessarily on purpose, but you're actually reminding me of Nagelsmann, the German coach, football manager, who was quoted recently, and this is interesting, Al, for us involved in teaching people, and that's what managers do and trainers do, coaches do. He said that 75% of getting the best out of people is not just tactics, it's about how you manage their personality. And you couldn't not see that when you saw Wenger. He had a certain way with him. He didn't call players out. He never spoke after a match. He let the dust settle, and talk about it on the following Monday. And there is certainly a little worry at the back of my mind that Arteta might be a little bit one sort of minded, and he might have one way of doing it. And what's the
Yeah.
famous? If you don't do it my way, it's the highway. Worried that he's got to. I mean, Ancelotti's actually quite good because he's a lot more mature. He's able to step back and allow people to talk to him. I do worry that Arteta. I mean, he does say he's open, but a few little whispers I've heard is that if you defy him, it's good night Vienna.
I've heard that as well. I've heard that as well. God, tell. I mean, the question is, God, my Chino Blood says, how can we have a better squad on paper right now than we did in 2015? But we're achieving a lot less still. God, yeah.
Well, I really think Arteta has still got some players he has to lose. Somebody has leaked that thing about Oba's tattoo now, so I would worry about that because he's already got rid of a few, and we haven't heard of any. We haven't heard of any leaks since, and this is the first leak now. So I suspect there's still people that if you're on that kind of money and you're, especially if you've won things before, then, the great thing about the Tony Adams era team was we all had things to prove. Even Dennis Bergkamp, to mention Dennis again, hadn't done too well in Italy, done well at Ajax Amsterdam. And then he had things to prove. It wasn't about money. It was about proving his quality as a footballer. And I worry we've got people there, and I won't mention the W man. I worry that these guys have won so many things, they've really got nothing to prove. And I've no doubt that our future is in the young players coming through. And I have been reading that we are looking at some young players on the continent. But when I say young, they're about 20, 21, 22 with things to prove. It's about motivation. And
Yeah.
it's a skill to motivate you. Alex and I have been teaching long enough to have developed a whole range of skills with that. And you've got to learn about the people you're working with and talk to them about how things are going and so on. And I just worry that it's not going to happen for him. This is his first managership, and I think he's going to be a good manager. But just give him time. That's what I say. But yeah, it does seem, I'm talking to Chino here now, that we do technically have a fairly good squad there. But I just think they've got a lot of learning to do. And the way Arteta's setting them up is a Guardiola style. I know they call him Guardiola light. He actually might be, he actually might be beyond Guardiola, because Guardiola made a very interesting comment the day before the game what happens in the final it's not the final third, but in the middle of the pitch, the sort of second third, the sort of build up phase, that he called it that. In the build up phase, he said there are so many clever things going on with Arteta's midfielders. He said even I was not sure who was marking whom and who was going where. So if Arteta's doing this and getting them to think at that level, he's got to find a way of doing it that makes sense to that player. And I think, again, if people look at this juego de posición, you'll see the way the pitches are marked out. And it's not what we've spoken about before, which is all about zone 14, which is where it's the traditional way that they've done it in Europe of marking out the pitch, the training pitch. And it's, if you can imagine the penalty area and across to the sidelines is 1, 2, 3. The next section forward is 4, 5, 6, and up by the halfway line, 7, 8, 9. Then you have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 is the area just in front of the D outside the penalty area, 14, 15, then 16, 17, 18. Now, that's what a lot of teams are using, and they all rave about getting players into zone 14. But if you read this, what they're doing now is they're marking the pitch up into a lot more spaces. And when Guardiola does this business of overloads, as Arteta uses that phrase, it's all to do with the number of players that are going to be in either a vertical or a horizontal line. And that there are certain limits. You're not allowed to have more than 3 in a horizontal line and 3 in a vertical line. And it's all about, it's hard to understand. And we're not having to train as players and having passing lanes. So it's all about, and I think this Ødegaard, I think he hasn't quite got what Arteta wants. And so we can't find him. And I think with Pepe, it's going to be impossible to find him because, God bless him, I don't think he's quite got the football, what do you call it? I'd hate to say the word intelligence, but I just think he doesn't think the sort of the way that Arteta wants him to think. I'm sure he's a very bright guy and all of that, but he just doesn't seem to have the kind of positional play that Arteta needs him to be in so that he can launch him one-on-one against the defender.
Dearie me. Someone says, if you get the ball with no movement ahead or around you, where are your options? Ollie reminds the Vladimir Pietrov, who Arsenal brought and sold as his strengths didn't fit Arsenal at all. And like I said, I found it very, very frustrating to see that we'd beaten the press. We're trying to progress the ball from the next quarter, and there's no movement in front of the defenders. There's a big void between the defenders, the midfielders, and the attackers. But that's a work in progress. And Mikel Arteta, and actually, we featured Arteta, I think, on Thursday. Some comments come from Paul Merson saying that for him, he feels like Mikel Arteta has come to manage Arsenal a little bit too soon. Maybe 2 seasons later would have been perfect for him, but now he feels like Arteta's come to Arsenal and managed maybe a little bit too soon. But that's Paul Merson's opinions.
Well, I can understand that, and I really do worry that we'll let Arteta go, and then he'll go off to another club, having made all the errors he might have made with us, and then self-correct them. I mean, any young person in any job, you can spot the ones who, when they make a mistake, they recognise it, correct it, move on. And I think Arteta has made mistakes. Of course he has, and he'd be the first to say everybody makes mistakes, but he does seem to learn quickly. As I said before, I'm a little bit worried he hasn't quite got the right team around him. I'm not sure that Steve Round and Stuyvenberg, maybe Stuyvenberg's quite good because his tactics are quite good, but I'm not really happy with, as you say, the way the players are moving off the ball. We don't seem to have these triangles and these diamond shapes of passing.
Nothing.
We don't have it, and we're not. It should be second nature. What you do is you drill the players so that they know where to stand, which way to go, where to expect the ball, and it should be drilled until they're doing it without thinking, which is what Man City do.
But Terry, do you know who had that understanding, that sixth sense to have an idea where the player was going to be? It was Saka and Emil Smith Rowe.
Yeah,
When they played together a lot closer, you can see that the sixth sense, they knew Whitehall because they had grown up in the academy together. So that understanding is like second nature for them. And that's why I'm crying out for these youngsters, from the under 23s to make a charge and show these so-called senior players what it's all about. But Saka and Emerson Rowe, the sixth sense, you can see it there, You can see it.
You could see it exactly, and that's why the Tony Adams youth development guys that came through, the Rocky Rocastles and so on, they'd all played together all those years from the age of 9, and they knew instinctively where everybody was going to be. And I mean, we've got some lovely young players. We've got a 6'4" guy. He's Swedish. He's
Muller. Is it Muller?
Muller or Moller. It depends what way you there's an umlaut on the O. But he's 6'4" and he's a very beautiful first touch. Big guy, plays down the channels. He looks a really good player. You should always have a big guy. I was looking at the scoring charts in the Champions League, and right up there with 5 goals is our old Olivier Giroud. You see, and you sell these guys, you think he's over the hill, but it's always handy to have a plan B. And we cross the ball with Tierney so often, and we haven't got a big guy in there. We've had Oba miss head balls. I mean, he's 6'1". He's no little guy, but he doesn't play with his head. So I would really like us to have a look at a plan B. I know they looked at Hodgson, who's at Celtic, but they seem to have gone cold on him now. But I definitely would like a bigger guy that is more powerful in the air and can create havoc. I remember when Kevin Campbell, who came into the first team, he's about 5'10", and he's built massive, really strong guy, and he broke all records in the Arsenal reserves for scoring goals. More than a goal a game. And George Graham said to him, "I want you to be like a hand grenade. When you go into that box, it should be explosive. People flying everywhere." And you could do with that's why Laka looks quite good sometimes, because you can't knock him off the ball. He's a big guy, and suddenly when he comes on, you go, "That's what we've missed, a big guy." And the only thing I don't like about Man City is this false 9 business.
Yeah.
I much prefer to have a big guy in there who creates havoc, and maybe we will be getting a big guy in.
Actually, my second moderator says, "Hey up, power to the Gooners." Alistair Brawns says, "Hi, Alex." Hey, what about Eltel? Saying hi. You can't have one without the other. It's like fish and chips. You've got to have both of them together. Terry, me, what's going on? When I see Oneni in the squad, I knew Arteta was going defensive. God, Terry, me.
But the thing about Elneny is he's got an engine on him, but so has my car.
Moving on. I think Arteta was scared of a 5-0 or 6-0. Terry said that at the beginning. Yeah, he's probably like, fearful of, of us getting the donut, which we got, and But anyway. Mickey Cartel says Arteta was trying to make Pepe unhappy, because why did he not put Pepe on the left and Saka on the right? Bellerin does not compliment Pepe one bit on the right, makes him look poor. Del.
Yeah, it's what we were saying. It was all to do with, because Arteta knows the Man City players so well. He didn't want the Man City right back, whose name keeps escaping me, but he basically he was used as an inverted right back, the way we used to use Ash Ainsley Maitland-Niles, and he was coming inside and creating all kinds of havoc. So that's why they had Saka out there to hold him back. But then you actually. Okay, we only let in 1 goal, and we could have almost, if we hadn't let that in, we might have had a 0-0 draw. But I think Arteta was so worried that he sacrificed what would have been a better goal scoring setup to have Pepe on the left, with Tierney bombing along outside him, and then that gives Pepe two options. If the ball comes to him, he can now either carry it on and pass it to Tierney, or he can cut inside. And he's proved, even if he's on his weaker foot, he's not so bad, and he's good because he can dribble. Once he gets into congested players, he's a cracking player at the fast dribble. He nutmegs all the time, and as we now know, once the ball is in the box, defenders don't know whether to not tackle, hide their hands behind their back, do a dance. Nobody knows with the current system what to do. So, but unfortunately, he gave that chance up because I think Arteta was scared of a massive drubbing. And if we do play them again, I want Saka on the right. He looks. We've seen him at left back. We've seen him as a number 10, and he looks quite good as a number 10. We've seen him as, if you like, a number 11. Now let's put him on the right, and if they're going to play Pepe, to be honest, it's make or break time now. If Pepe doesn't have a few good matches soon, then we'll have to sell him during the summer and take a huge hit. £72 million, something very funny going on there.
Pato says, I think he should have played Gabby instead of Aubameyang. I think that's what he's saying.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I mean, I suppose he thought Gabby's young, his time will come, But I have heard rumours that he doesn't fancy him. He doesn't see whatever is in. I mean, to be honest,
that's what I've heard as well.
Gabby hasn't endeared me yet. I know he got that wonderful goal against Chelsea last season where he ran the whole length of the pitch, but it needed a Chelsea player to fall over and a very unlikely bobble for it to happen. So, and if you watch it, the Chelsea player just falls down. I don't know what he's doing. And so Gabby's yet to convince me, but, we'll keep a smile on it. And when his chance comes, I hope he does well. I do worry that he's a bit like Jack Wilshere, that he tends to keep the ball very close to himself and runs into trouble. And, of course, that's ended up causing Wilshere all kinds of trouble because people foul him either accidentally or on purpose.
Yeah. The Gunman TV says, I feel Arteta and Arsenal are not aligned. He's a newbie manager and Arsenal are in transition, and we require someone with experience to take us where we want to be. It feels like we will waste 3 years, Wow.
I think Ancelotti was one of our options. He's won various leagues about 5 times, won the European Cup 3 times. I mean, and he's doing well at Everton. Oh my goodness, he's doing well at Everton, and Moyes is doing very well at West Ham. Leicester is doing well, but I think that's not just Brendan Rodgers. I think that's their scouting team is phenomenal. I would love their scouting team. All those young players that they've scouted and that are coming through, fantastic. I do think, looking back on it, that Ancelotti might have done a really good job for a season or two, but then we may not have got Arteta then. So I think Arsenal, he did get interviewed for the job that Emery got, that Unai got, and he didn't get it. And so I think if he hadn't got it the second time, it's a bit like asking a lady to sort of marry you. I don't know how many times you're going to keep going back. Joe Biden asked 5 times. I don't know if people know that. And the 5th time he said, because he's got an Irish background, he said, if you say no, the Irish in him is going to rise up. I think he meant he was going to get angry or something. Us Irish, we're fine people. We're grand.
The obvious, who the leaks are. Really? Oh, not for me. I remember Ashley Cole got his move no matter what damage it did. The question is who gained from the move and who knew Cole's movements as part of their job, allegedly. Well, I don't want to get into that. There's McLeod. Says, evening, Alex Eltel. Sorry, I'm late. No worries, Des. We're always going to be here anyway. He goes on to say, we only seem to score one way these days. No one has a shot outside the box. We should let Ødegaard take the free kicks,
Yeah, I mean, they did say that although Tierney, I mean, he's probably my favourite player currently, maybe Saka too. He was a little bit rusty, and some of his crosses didn't work. And I think the players, you've got to get this so that they know when they're going to get a cutback or when it's going to be a ball high into the box. Now, if you're going to knock it high into the box and you've got a goalkeeper like Ederson, unless you've got a Giroud type guy up there challenging him, then it's going to be headed out, or the goalkeeper will get it. So yesterday was definitely a time for the sort of cutbacks rather than the ball crossed high. And I do like the sort of cutbacks. I really like those. In their heyday, Liverpool always crowded the area, pushed the ball forward down either wing, and then cut back. And they had people coming through. I mean, we had it with Aaron Ramsey. I remember one of the goals was it the Hull Cup final, and the ball came back to him, crashed it into the net, and then is it the one against Villa as well? I mean, it's a fantastic ploy, but we haven't got an Aaron Ramsey, and we haven't got a midfielder. Ceballos isn't the sort of player that runs into the box and lashes it into the net. So we do still have a lot of midfield problems that need to be solved, I think.
Alistair Braun said, better in the last third looks lost. Nobody to get on the end of all the crosses. A tall physical player could be effective. We need options. And like Tel says, we need a plan B.
Yep.
If plan A is not working, look to plan B. But we're short on options at the moment. But again, that's down to the scouting, trying to get the right players with the right mentalities to fit in those places that we need there. I think this is going to be the last one. We've got Ades saying, Alex and Tel, how do you think the Invincibles would do this season? Go for it, Tel.
A lot of people forget. I think the Invincibles ended up letting in 16 goals in that season, and a lot of them were at the end. I think we were about 5 or 6 matches from the end of the season, and we'd only let in about 8 or 9 goals. So that team almost did the defence part in single figures. So I think, and if you're going to win the EPL, it's normally the sort of best defence. As long as you've got a really good attack, the best defence will win it. And as we saw, football's a low-scoring game generally, although we've had some high-scoring games this season, mainly because I think crowds aren't there, because there's no doubt a team at home urged on by their crowd is often worth an extra goal. But I think the Invincibles, I mean, you look at that team. Look at Dennis Bergkamp and these guys, you know. They have all. And Thierry Henry and that famous back four or back five. And we had the Ray Parlers of this world doing the hard work. It was a phenomenal team. We've been very lucky over the years. But, you know, as we always say on Cannon Fodder TV, you look forward and you say, you know, the next game is going to be better. And the next game's going to be better. And I personally think, although we didn't get Ancelotti, I think Ancelotti would have had a good season with us, very good season with us. I'm not convinced by Brendan Rodgers yet, but I am certainly convinced by the scouting network up at Leicester. But I think we've just got to hold on to Arteta now, and you've got to give him at least one more season. Money's very tight, so you can bet your bottom dollar that there's going to be more players going. I think one of the ones will be Bellerin, because as that chap just said, when he gets into the final third, I think he's been told to underlap, so he comes inside. But when he comes inside, he doesn't quite know what to do. And you know, I mean, the beauty of Ashley Cole, of course, was that he was originally a left winger, and when we converted him, we sent him off to Crystal Palace on loan. And he converted into a left back just before that, and he played left back for them. And when he came back to us, he was fantastic because he knew what to do when he got the ball high up the pitch. With Bellerin, he just loses his track of where he is. He basically needs a modern sat-nav strapped to him and said, "You've got 3 forwards, diagonal to the left or diagonal to the right, but no others. Keep it simple."
Tel, I recognise his name. It's Claire Mum. Yes, I agree with Tel. Bring in a big man. There you go. And so we can wrap up this one very quickly. Question. Do you actually believe Arsenal are going to improve with the current management, i.e. boardroom down to the academy, Tel?
I think they are. And I do think it would be much quicker if we had a decent owner in there who was willing to just be around the place the way, I mean, when we had David Dean, I'm a great David Dean fan, although it all went very wrong towards the end. But he was at every game, home and away, going off in all kinds of weather to watch the reserves play. And I was doing that in those days because I enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the football. And you can't really get a feel for a club unless you're prepared to do those hard yards. And we currently have none of that. But I think under the current setup, we've got a good academy coming through, and I think Mertesacker is in the wings. I think he's going to be good. I could see him being promoted fairly soon, because Arsenal's way has always been to have whoever was in charge of the youth team kind of move up with them into the under 23s, and then for the under 23 person, say Pat Rice, to then become assistant manager. They've often done this, and I can see Mertesacker either next season or the season after, with all the players he's brought through. And we've got some great players. We've got that little Cottrell guy. We've got Aziz. We've got Mark McGuinness and another centre-back guy there. We've got some really good centre-backs that are out on loan. These are 6'3" and 6'4" guys who are doing wonderfully well. Some good teams, good players coming through. Mertesacker will know these guys inside out. And in the next year or two, I can see him moving up and maybe eventually being assistant manager.
Basic says, when will Arsenal be back in the top 4?
This season, if we make top 8, it would be a semi-miracle. But it might happen. We're going to have to start putting a run of 5 or 6 victories. Do you know what? It all depends, and this is why football and all sport is exciting. It all depends on this Benfica match. If they go away to a very weak team, apparently, so I don't want people to get overconfident, because we blew it against Olympiacos around about the same time last year at home. But and we've got this stupid away goals rule, which that we're currently 1-1, but if it's then 2-2 away in Athens, which is not away because they're calling it at home, then Arsenal are out. So it's a nightmare, and that's what got us with Olympiacos. But a lot depends on that. Obviously, Arteta now, his eggs are all in one basket. I think he's even said something like that. He said this is what we're heading for now. We're not going to get relegated. We're not going to make top 4. That I just can't see that. I don't think the maths stand up to that. And we've got some very tricky games coming up. So I think, we're going to have to turn in a decent, which is why I was quite surprised against Man City that we didn't have a few more of the younger players like Martinelli out there, because had Ødegaard got injured, and then you've got Lacquer on, and if Lacquer had got injured, you really were scraping the barrel after that.
Is this a friend of yours, Tel? Patrick Kenny? During the Invincibles era, we had most games wrapped up by half-time. We're such slow starters over the last couple of seasons. Yeah, I did notice that. And actually, I had a good conversation with my brother over the weekend. The way, I don't know, does Arteta prepare his players well enough? Because the first half, more often than not, we start so slow, and we give up the advantage to the opposition so quickly, so early. But
it's
interesting. A lot of work to be done.
Interesting. He mentioned that. He said we had been told, i.e. by Arteta, that to sort of start on fire, like to start really quickly. And he said, I don't know what happened. It just didn't happen. So and the famous thing under lots of managers is, if you score a goal, work harder than you did before, because that's when you're at your most vulnerable. But I mean, I would. Do you know what we used to do sometimes? We used to have a little ploy where we'd kick off, the ball would be played back into midfield, and then the midfield player, I'm thinking of Paul Davis, do you remember Paul? And he'd knock the ball long to one of the wingers, and then the winger would cross it in. And it was like a set play. So if you're kicking off, you can actually, a bit like any set play, it's a set play, isn't it? A free kick is a set play. A corner is a set play. Well, kicking off, if you win the toss and decide to kick off, then you've got a set play. And I don't know why we don't try a few set plays for that first period of the game, say, look, we've got 3 or 4 set plays here now. Let's do these, because you all know where everybody's going to be. But we, as that chap is saying there, he is right. We sort of warm up very, very slowly. We're tentative. Maybe the danger is Arteta could be filling their heads with too much, and we spoke about that earlier. When you're teaching people things, don't keep filling their heads with stuff, because after 10 minutes they don't listen anymore.
James Cantin says, do you think we need a new striker, as Auba looks a bit a bit past it? I would get Martinez from Inter. I don't really know the player, so I couldn't tell you. But in regards to young striker, we've got Martinelli. And we've got Palingham as well. I'm still not sure whether he's staying or going. But we've got young strikers already at Arsenal. But
yeah, I personally would give Oba. Well, do you know, he does look off. He does look as though he's lost it. I know Jamie Redknapp was interviewed after the match and saying he thinks he's slowing down and his mojo's gone, isn't it? And I would be thinking, if you're going to sell him at all, you're going to get more money now than you will in a year's time. And if I think sometimes as a manager, you've got to bite the bullet. And why not get in some of these players that there's a Portuguese guy we've been looking at as well. He's 6'1", I think. Maybe they're thinking, if Oba can't pull out of this run he's having, maybe, you see, the biggest worry is that teams have worked Oba out. He's standing on the shoulder of either the fullback or the defender, the right defender, and they've worked him out. So he's got to find another way to create goals. And some of his passing in the last match was quite poor as well, which is really annoying.
My goodness. There's McLeod, just kind of wrap this one up. Says, great stream. Thanks, Alex and Eltel. And Monty says, thank you, Alex and Eltel, for a great segment on Canon for the TV. Thank you to all of our subscribers. Without you, there could never be a Canon for your TV. And Tel, there's a question for you. Are you Arteta in or out? Well, guys, I've been saying for the longest time, if you don't know now, you will never know. I am Arteta in. I don't like to see managers lose their jobs. Look how we treat managers. Look how we treated Unai Emery. I am Arteta in. You've still got to give this guy time. Terry, over to you.
Absolutely. Emery's doing now very, very well in his current club. He did. I thought he was doing a great job for us. People did take the mickey out of how he was very polite. He always said good evening. I've got lots of friends who don't start any conversations with good morning, good evening, or anything like that. Somebody told him, you must be polite. And of course, he didn't quite pronounce it right. Well, do you know what? His English is far better than my Spanish will ever be. And he did his best. Even Bielsa doesn't even try to speak in English, does he? Because he's good. So, I mean, I did like Emery. I thought he was a decent manager. Had he got Zaha instead of Pepe, it might have been a different story. People forget in that first season he was doing well. We were, doing well in the league. We got to European final. If it wasn't for Hazard, that could have all been quite different as well. So I would definitely say Arteta in and give him the rest of this season and at least one more season.
Chelsea Forever 79. We've got a Chelsea supporter in the live chat. Says, Arsenal are approaching regular mid-table mediocrity. I can't argue with that. I can't. If we're mid-table, it means we are a mid-table team. But listen, things will get better, onwards and upwards. Yeah, come on, you Gunners. That's what I've got to say anyway. Tel, do you want to respond?
A quick statement to Chelsea Forever. There was a you probably never heard of called Ian Hutchison, and in the cup final, I think it was 72. It was a replay against Leeds, and Leeds were the all-conquering Leeds. And he always had long throws, and his long throw, I think, went onto Osgood's head or somebody anyway, and they score. So without his and won the cup. So that was like beating the best team in England at the current time. And so everybody, even if they weren't Chelsea fans, knew of Ian Hutchison, big guy, big 6'2", 3" guy. And many years later, he turned up at the Stamford Bridge, Chelsea ground, and tried to get in. And the guy stopped him and said, "Where are you going?" He said, I'm Ian Hutchison. And the guy in the door went, who's he? So please, people, read your history books, find out who your players. He was a good player.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, Chelsea for says it wasn't a dig; it's just an observation. I took it that way. I took it that way. I mean, we welcome any kind of fans into the live chat as long as you're respectful. I understand you were respectful, and like I just said, if we are in mid-table, it means we are a mid-table team. Nothing more and nothing less. And as we're about to finish one, we've got DWTT. Gary says, my man, Alex, good day, Eltel. Very, very formal, Gary. Very, very formal.
I was saying to some people, actually, it's interesting about the guy from Chelsea. One of the advantages, if you're living in a big metropolis like London, is that you can go and see if, well, not while the pandemic's on, but, I occasionally went with a friend who just liked German football and didn't have a particular English team, English-born guy. And when Arsenal weren't playing, he and I would go off and watch all kinds of interesting games. We saw a match at QPR against Liverpool when QPR came second in the league. We'd go off to Fulham, Alex's second club. We'd go off to Palace. We'd go and see different teams, and that's the sort of joy of if you're living in a big city. It's not quite so easy now. You'd have to go on the website and buy the tickets. But it can still be done unless it's a local derby. There are always tickets available.
So you know what? I mean, one of the the things I love about Cannon 4 TV, apart from gassing on about Arsenal, is actually meeting and developing like friendships, with people, and you've seen the regular names.
Yeah,
I've been invited to go to the Savoy. Monty and myself. Hopefully, the guy is going to be traveling from South Africa to London quite soon. And also, there's Des McLeod, who's invited my brother and myself to go up and visit him in Newcastle. So I really do love the community we have, in Cannon 4 TV. Even more so, Chelsea supporters, Liverpool, Aston Villa supporters, Darlington supporters. Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. But yeah, I do enjoy doing Cannon 4 TV.
But I've got a brother-in-law supports Liverpool, and we often go and watch matches, and if it's Liverpool, and as long as they're not playing Arsenal, then I'll shout. In fact, just as a little funny story, and Tim will know this guy at least by reputation. If not, I think you probably met him, Tim. We went to see Arsenal play back in the old stadium, and we were playing. I think it was Sheffield Wednesday, and as I say, my brother-in-law Phil is a big Liverpool supporter. And we're standing on the North Bank, surrounded by all the nutters, and it was 0-0 and then 1-1. And then Philip said to me, there you go. You come all the way to watch Arsenal and nothing happens. And there was only 20 minutes left. We finished the game 7-1. What's going on? Bang, bang, bang. It's because they heard you. You were complaining.
Might as well tell. Oh, dearie me. Can we quickly just kind of ship in these last two comments? I think so. Chelsea River says, another observation. It's great to see a football channel with no swearing. Well done. Keep up the good work. This Chelsea supporter has subbed. Chelsea forever. I don't want to get onto my soapbox, and Terry will know this, and he knows me quite well. It's the way that we've been brought up. Sometimes my mother does watch the show, and I wouldn't want to be saying anything that might upset or maybe embarrass my dear mum. That's one thing. The other thing that we try and do, I've got maybe like 5 moderators. They're not all able to operate at the same time, but we try and set up the parameters so people are not being silly, saying vulgar language and just doing silliness in a live chat, because we want the content to be open to almost anyone to watch. Youngsters, male, female, and other supporters of other clubs. So though that is the quality, we want to bring Cannon 4 TV going forward. So thank you for those wonderful comments there. No swearing.
Yeah, I'd like to back that up as well, because what we try to do is keep it upbeat, and we're quite happy to talk about other clubs and swap stories. That's the joy of football. and I've met many Chelsea fans, have many good mates that are Chelsea fans, and I have many good stories about matches between Arsenal and Chelsea, and that's the way football should be. You should enjoy the game. You should enjoy whoever you're playing against, and after the game, you can still be mates after it, and that's the way it should be. No fighting, no swearing. Have the banter. There's no harm in banter. You know, the country my people are from, the banter is fantastic. No, it's hilarious. It's great fun, but don't take offence. It's just banter. It's just fun.
Yeah. And also, you know, Tel has already said as well, I think maybe a couple of months ago, that hopefully when we come through this pandemic, you know, we had like an end of season meetup with some of the contributors, and when we are through this pandemic, it'll be good at the end of the season to meet up with one or two of you, just have like a little drink and a little laugh about, you know, the year before and the pandemic. You know, I love the community we have here on Cannon 40 TV. Very, very vibrant, you know, male, female. We've even got a female contributor, Sharifa. You know, go over and subscribe to her channel, Arsenal Small Talk. But I do like what I read there. Of course, we get the silly, you know, words and silly behavior there, but you're going to get that in the society, aren't you? It's social media.
Well, listen, I've got an idea for you. There's some lovely landmarks around London. We could get some of the people that normally come on, as long as they're London based, or if they come in like James from Amsterdam, and we could go somewhere nice. A good place would be St. Catherine's Dock with all the boats and ships, or we could do it at the just by the Tower Bridge. There's a place called the Scoop there, and that's a lovely little run there, and there's a little coffee place there. And certainly for people that are watching this from different countries around the world, we could do it. It wouldn't have to be live. I don't think you could do it live. I'm not sure.
We can.
Know how to...
We can do it live. Yeah.
So
yeah.
Why don't we do, once the pandemic's over and we get a nice sunny day, get a few of the regular contributors in and do it live, but do it from somewhere picturesque and stuff. You know, kind of a nice London spot. You know, I mean, I've often said to people, I know Tim likes this, that quite a lot of Arsenal footballers, if they were Arsenal fans, if we were playing Fulham or Chelsea, you can go to one of the piers, Westminster Pier or further east. You can pick up one of those pleasure boats. You can have yourself a few beers, go down to Chelsea Harbour, get off the boat, go and see the game, maybe get on the boat going back. Everybody's having fun. You've got the sun belting down on you, and you're in the heart of London town. So, yeah, maybe we could do something like that. Be fun.
Yeah. Actually, Terry, actually, he says, all round to hotels for dinner then.
I have to get the
a London landmark, Tel says.
I have to get the old Barbie out.
Oh, what's this one? Guys, I want to wrap this one up. You guys keep coming with comments. I don't know. There are times I see LTL looks just on a precipice of a 4-letter try.
I might start. I've always, you know, one of the things you do in school is you have custard. You know, the famous custard thing, and of course, every now and again when I was at school in Highbury, somebody would fill their dessert spoon with custard and flick it and get into massive trouble. And I've always said, on my last day in teaching, I should go into the dining hall, wait till all the kids have got custard that wasn't hot, and then say, right, lads, custard fight, go.
Colin says, just joking. I thoroughly enjoy Eltel's experience. Oh, dearie me. Guys, we've got to wrap this one up, man.
You've got to come alleyways, eh?
Yeah. But anyway, before...
I have to invite them all over to us. Get a vote on the... Yeah.
Listen,
to Tim and all the Arsenal guys around Limerick and Clare and Galway.
Listen, it's been a pleasure. I mean, a good start to the week, Tel.
And Alex, on behalf of all of us who absolutely love you, it's so great to see you back on good form, back doing the thing that makes you feel fulfilled, and we all love you. Without
Cheers,
you,
Tel.
it would be a cannon fodder.
Cheers, Tel. Cheers. Thanks for that, Tel. And we're done. We're done on a Monday evening. An hour and almost hour and 25 minutes of just laughter and jokes. Anyway, Tel.
What time are they coming round? All these guys.
Tel, quick, switch off the lights, mate. Oh, dear me. This is it. It's it. We're done. We're finished. I will be back tomorrow, same time, same place, around 5:30-ish. Yeah, give me some more live news, Terry. Oh, dear me. I'll be on my own. So I've got this terrible cough there. I do apologize. I'll be on my own. Give me some more live news, and yeah. But for those of you who who've just kind of passed by thinking, what's all this? What's going on? Well, it's canon fodder, isn't it? Yeah, this wonderful community. Make sure you subscribe, because if you don't, you're going to miss out on all the lovely content we've had across the platform there. I do need to get back to do my. There's another segment, a player profile segment, where I actually talk about the players who play for Arsenal over the last 40 and 50 years. I have had so many messages from people over the last, I think, like 2 or 3 weeks saying this segment there needs to continue. But there's only so much I can do. I'm trying to hold down a regular, full-time job apart from doing Canon for TV on a regular basis. And given a choice, LTL, I'd rather be doing Canon for TV. But anyway, that's a different story for another day. Well, LTL, you want to say something?
I've told you before, this is where things start. If you think you started off with a lapel microphone outside the Tony Adams statue, and now you're going to be on TVAM or whatever they call it now.
All right, guys. Well, listen, that is it. Thank you for joining us. I saw the numbers just bubbling, just under 60 at any one time, and looking at the analytics, is like 300 of you kind of checked in, watching us for a few minutes over the last hour and 30 minutes. So it leaves me without further ado to say, LTL, thank you so very much for joining me on this Monday night show. And I think we've gained a few, and we've probably lost a few subscribers as well. Thinking, oh, isn't this supposed to be an Arsenal channel? Well, it is.
Alex, I'm not to worry you, but it's a big queue of blokes with beer bottles outside my house currently, all trying to get in.
All right, so that is it. That is it. If you've been wondering who or what you've been listening to, you've been listening to Cannon Fodder, the channel for Arsenal fans all over this world.